At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast is now on YouTube. Go on YouTube and search Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast and click that subscribe button to never miss an episode. Welcome back, everybody, to another fantastic episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. I am one of your hosts, Wrestling Chris G, and on the other line with me today is the sleepy one of the group. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, man, how you doing?
I'm coming off the wrong side of a come down. That's how I'm doing.
I feel like these episodes should have been reversed. I feel like we should have had this episode first and then the gym battle second.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you almost could do that too.
You could have. They could have easily have done it.
Because you could have,
especially the way that this episode ends.
Yeah, because you could have ended it with. You could have ended it. You could have ended it where you ended it either way.
Yes.
Because it's a really good midpoint.
So, but this week is episode 6 of season 14, and this is episode number 665. It's called Dreams by the Yardful, or translated from Japanese, Former Building Site of Dreams, Munna and Musharna.
Good Lord, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. If you couldn't tell it, I barely even got it out. So that is this week's episode. How are you doing, Doug? How are you doing? This is the second episode on a night where we're recording 2 episodes. We're recording this on August 22nd.
We're recording it on August 22nd. We are 18 minutes away from it being August 23rd. You know, and I kind of alluded to this last week. This was kind of an impromptu thing. You kind of asked me, I think,
a couple days ago,
Friday.
Yeah,
you're like, how would you feel about doing Sunday? I was like, well, we got the wrestling show. Would you be okay with doing it after? And I was like, and you're like, yeah. What time would it be over? And I said about 9:30. I was right. So I texted you pretty much as soon as I took care of a couple things, and, you know, we got on here, and I mean, we got going pretty much as soon as we usually get going, but, you know, to get a good quality episode, I mean, we were done, and, you know, the second episodes are usually quick turnarounds, so we were done at like 11:30, and it's like quarter till, so I mean, you know, because you get into a groove, but you know, we're going to be done probably little after 12:30, and then, you know, we're going to get a day, and then we're going to be back at it on
Tuesday.
Tuesday is the going thought process now. We're going to be back in season 2, which I'm going to have to remember where we were.
I'm going to find out. I believe the Clefairy episode was the last episode that we reviewed.
That feels about right.
So I believe that was the last one. And
if it's not that one, it's around there.
Yes. And honestly, I think this episode is premiering maybe 1 or 2 weeks prior to that episode, because we're recorded up until October as of right now. So yeah, let's keep this going, Doug.
So yeah, so we're on the second one. You're not going to get the half-hour wrestling chat that you got in the first one, that you got last week. So yeah, let's dive right in, I would say.
All right. Well, this episode premiered October 21st, 2010, and in Japan, and in here in the States, it premiered March 12th, 2011. So we're going to go with the American date, and I have the right date this week, everybody. So on this date in 2002, the animated film Ice Age, directed by Chris Wedge and Carlos Saldana, with voices by Dennis Leary and John. I should have just
Leguizamo.
There you go. I couldn't say that. Premiered for the first time. So great film. My kids love the film. Also, on a side note, that the very first Hunger Games, starring Jennifer Lawrence, premiered on this same date in 2012 as well.
Before she blew up.
Yes. So it's good. I'm enjoying like looking at these dates and like just going over a lot of this stuff, Doug, because it just has me reminisce on a lot of things that I have forgotten about. Like, I'm a huge Hunger Games fan, and that movie just that made Miss Lawrence.
It definitely did. Never saw Hunger Games.
Ooh, that I mean, I know you have a big backlog, but that's something to get into if you have an extra thing to watch once you get caught up on everything.
Right? I'd probably read the books before I read the movie, but even that's far down the road.
Okay.
I'm a busy man.
I know you are. That's why I said whenever you get time. So, all right. Well, other than that, Doug, what is your date this week?
I'm going super recent with this one. So on this day, March 12th, 2020, the NHL is the latest league to announce that it is suspending its season due to the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh man!
You
remember that, Doug?
Oh, absolutely. I think we were about to record an episode when I think we got on the day after the incident in Utah where Rudy Gobert was revealed to have contracted it, and then the NBA was pausing its season, and
they didn't want to. They went down kicking and screaming, Doug.
The NCAA was like, okay, no fans at the tournament because the tournament was like right around the corner. And then the next day they were like, fuck it all, we're not doing a tournament. And, so yeah. But this is specifically about the NHL. They came out the day after and they're like, we're stopping ours. And then it got to a point where they were holding all their games in Canada and...
Well, half in Canada and half in Florida.
That's right, fucking Florida, yeah, because Florida never shut down. The NHL was just the next league to shut down, and we had no sports for a while, and then we had sports in...
sad.
It was very sad. And then we had sports in bubbles, and then, now we're back to full crowds.
For how long, we don't know.
I was going to say, unfortunately, Delta's raging. They're talking about booster shots, because it's
they're talking about another potential shutdown.
I know.
And we're not going to go down a big rabbit hole with this, but because you're listening to this in the future. But as of yesterday morning, former President Donald Trump actually got booed at one of his rallies. Mm. But yeah, he got booed at his most recent rally, and for telling people to go get the shot. And he ended up quieting down the audience, but at least he's on the side right now where he's telling people finally, go get this shot. Because he said, if you don't get this shot by fall of this year, we're going to be back with another lockdown like we were last year.
Yeah, well, he has no fucking room to talk. He was sitting up there in March of last year saying, oh, this will be over by Easter. We'll be fine by Easter. Like, bro, if you haven't gotten the shot by now, you're not getting the fucking shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's plain and simple. If you haven't gotten it by now, seeing all the shit that's gone down, and you thought, oh, I'll be all right, I can get through it, and now we're dealing with this Delta, and
well, there's always going to be another coronavirus. Let's be real.
Well, that's true too.
I mean, look at all the different strands of the flu that we had. So, and that never went away, by the way.
Yeah, and it's going to get to the point where, they're talking 8 months for booster shots from when you originally got vaccinated. So for me, it would be February. And then it'll probably just be a regular thing. Oh, do you get your flu and your COVID shot this year? Oh shit, no, I got to schedule that. And that sucks, but it's where we are because people are idiots and stubborn and just,
So,
yeah.
So all right. But yeah, that was mine. Doug, yours?
No, that was mine.
Oh, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm completely turned around right now.
I blame Trump.
Oh, stop it. Stop it, Doug. All right. So with that being said, we're only a few minutes into this episode, but we're about to get into this nice review, and we'll try to make this episode at least an hour if we can, but something tells me it's going to be shy of that.
I think so. I honestly do, because you can basically skip the first 30 seconds because it's just a recap of last week.
Yep. So we go straight after the theme song, looking over at the Battle of Pansage and Ashwat, and Pansage is getting its solar beam ready to go and attack Ashwat, and then he goes and he shoots it. Ash tells Ashwat to deflect it, and he does. He takes the shell off of its body and deflects that solar beam. That solar beam can't be that strong if it's being deflected by a shell.
No, but the other question with that is how strong is that shell? Because it knocks Ashwat completely back, but that shell takes all that energy and shoots it up.
Yes.
So I have no idea. I mean, we saw a couple weeks ago, we saw the shell pop a balloon, which is more believable because you got to believe that the shell has sharp edges and it's just a hot air balloon.
So yeah, we go straight from that. And what did we say his name was? Silent?
Yeah.
Silent sits there and congratulates Ash on deflecting that attack, and he gets really impressed.
Yeah, he's got almost like stars in his eyes, and he's like, oh, you do have some spice in your repertoire, and that's something I picked up on it because I was nauseated by it, but I didn't mention it last week. This dude, heavy on the food puns and the food metaphors, talking about, oh, you got to have the right pairing between trainer and Pokemon, and you got to have spice in your move set. You got to let the flavors dance and all this bullshit.
All this bullshit, Doug.
All this bullshit.
So, all right. But you want to go ahead and go over this next part after Ash is being praised for deflecting the solar beam?
Yes. So, Pansage goes back to its like A1 attack with Bullet Seed, and Ashwat is using its shell like Captain America's shield and just kind of, ping, 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 ping. And, and he's, basically being boss, and Ash says, "Okay, use that momentum into Razor Shell," and then unfortunately, Oshawott kind of telegraphs it, and Pansage has enough time to focus another bullet seed attack and knock the shell out of its hand.
Yeah, I felt bad.
Bad how?
Well, I felt bad for Oshawott because Oshawott is just getting beamed while he's up in the air, thinking he's big and all boss, and just gets shot down immediately.
Gave him too much time to prepare.
Yeah,
it's like when Shawn Michaels is in the corner doing stomps for 5 minutes, telegraphing that he's going to do the super kick. It's like, oh, and then we're surprised when somebody ducks it.
That's
like,
true.
well, he was sitting there pounding the mat for an hour.
So yes, so Oshawott gets deflected down, and the shell gets knocked out of his hand. It's sitting next to Oshawott. Oshawott is on his back. Oshawott seems like he's almost defeated, but he gets back up, runs over, and grabs his shell. Well, he attempts to grab his shell.
He attempts to grab his shell. His shell. And he gets beamed in the head by one final bullet seed shot, and he's on Loopy Street.
Yes.
And frickin' Silent says, "Oh, now it's time for the battle to be served," and all the girls basically are like, "Oh my God, it's all he said the thing," and Iris is like, "What in the hell does that mean?" And like, "Oh, you'll see." And basically, it's not some big finishing move. It's basically Silent assessing Ash's skill and technique and pattern as a trainer.
Yes.
And to make a long speech short, he basically says Ash is a basic bitch.
He does. So it's at this point that he tells Passage to use the rocks in a certain way to use his water gun attack, Doug. And from here, Oshawott does like a little ping pinball effect, like hitting all the corners of the rock to go and grab his shell or shoot his shell up into the air so he can go up and grab his shell to get his shell back.
And then hit a razor shell on Pansage and knock him back, and kind of Pansage is kind of sitting there with one eye shut going, "Motherfuck, that was clever." And Oshawott comes charging in with razor shell. Pansage comes charging with bite, and we have the standard like anime like that. You can see that there's contact in the middle, and then we both do an anime pose with our backs to each other, and then you can see like Pansage is kind of starting to the corners of its mouth are starting to raise, and then Pansage just falls over with the knocked out eyes, and you get Pansage is unable to battle, and Ash, after all of that and using goddamn wacky physics with the water gun at the wall and all that, Ash is finally victorious.
Yes. And it's at this point Oshawott just looks so proud of himself. And it's at this point.
The one thing I was that would have just been the cherry on top of this moment was if Oshawott would have looked at his shell and done the thing in the Westerns when the guy looks and he blows the smoke out of the barrel and puts it back and put it back in his chest. That's the one thing.
Dude, the ideas that we come up with when we're listening or when we're doing this podcast, because that would have been a moment right there.
A little bit of smoke coming off the shell. He just goes. He just puts it anyway.
Yep.
So his Pokemon, the 3 Pokemon that he used in the battle, are standing there at the ceremony, and we see the badge, and it's a piece of gold, and it's got 3 colored stones, and
Yep, blue, pink, and green. It's a trio badge.
Trio badge, yes. And then Ash does the whole, I got a trios badge, and he shows it to the camera.
And Tepig, Pikachu, and Oshawott jump into the frame. Pikachu has no reason to be in that shot. I don't care, whatever, because Pikachu lost his battle.
Well, yeah, but if he'd have won his battle, we wouldn't have had the shining moment of Oshawott.
Yeah, still.
And then somewhere P-Dub's going, well, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, for real.
Because something was said last week when they were trying to pump up Oshawott. He's like, you're one of my strongest Pokemon. And like I say, P-Dub's just sitting in his Pokeball going, I'm the one you didn't use. Fuck you. Go to, and even...
he forgets all about P-Dub.
And Iris made the comment of, well, P-Dub would have given you an advantage over Pansage. But, again, she's up in the catwalk. He can't really hear her. But then he turns his attention to her. And he goes, well... I won, Iris, like I told you I would, and she basically kicks him right in the nuts. She goes, you realize you made it harder for yourself, right?
Iris is, now that I know that she's 12, she's sitting there just acting all of her age. I'm just going to throw that out there. She's all of the age of 12.
But she's not wrong, though, is the interesting thing.
She's not.
Because she also says, well, imagine if you'd have lost, say you would have lost those 2 straight battles after winning the first one. Because he won the first one, he could have walked out. And he's like, all right, you're pissing me off. Well, he didn't say that, but I was thinking it. He's like, I'm going to battle you next. And she's like, well, really, look at your Pokemon. And then all of a sudden... Oshawott's passed out at Ash's foot, and
Oshawott was done after the second attack in the last episode, where he was panting like he had just got punched in the stomach.
And Pikachu and Tepig are kind of sitting there like they're not really in battle mode, but he's like, I'm gonna battle you, and then Silent's like, all right, take it outside. What do you think this is, a Pokemon gym? And that is almost immediately dropped.
Because we go straight outside to Team Rocket at this abandoned part in Stryton City, where they are on the lookout for this mysterious power that has been, that they were told that is raging from this area.
Yes, this is the location that they were tipped off from by Giovanni. We just kind of see the wreckage of the area, and I mean, it's all in crumbles.
Yes, it is.
And there's one little puddle of water, and
so
James is kind of looking around, going, "This is the Dreamyard." And Meowth said, "If you ask me, this is a pile of rubble." And
And Jesse's like, it's time to get down to business. So James goes and opens up his briefcase, which has a little mobilized, like a little robot in there. And from here, as they're getting everything set up, the ground starts to rumble, and then you see a nice little pink. I'd say
energy field.
Yeah. Like a nice little pink energy field, like coming up. And Meowth, I don't know who's doing Meowth's voice, but Meowth's voice is kind of annoying now, because he's like, This is rumbling the rubble that's all over here, and just the way he says it is completely like off-putting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I tracked it like within the second episode. I was like, oh, this is gonna suck. But yeah, I mean, you can really tell when he goes on like long speaking segments
That someone else is doing that voice.
Absolutely.
And I think someone else at this point is doing Ash's voice too, if I'm going to be completely fair.
Yeah, Ash, and I think James as well.
So I think this is when we've transitioned to the fact where these that all of the actors have been. That's why I want to get Veronica Taylor on this podcast so she can kind of allude to when was her last episode,
right,
of doing the Ash voice.
Right.
So, again, if anyone out there can hear, please vouch for us and help us get her on this show. And I will continue to keep doing what I do as well to try to get her on here.
But as we see that the energy is starting to permeate the area, we see what looks like an eye opening somewhere unseen. And yes, we see it looks like to our untrained eye, it just looks like a circle with a pink eye.
Yes. But this is when we find out that Munna, a trainer on the Unova Island, is awoken by her Munna that's levitating, and it looks like Munna is having a nightmare.
Like Munna is being affected by the pink energy.
Yes.
And then we are thrown right back to a Pokemon Center where Ash is dropping off to Pig and Oshawott and presumably Pikachu, but it's not really.
Yes, Pikachu
stated.
Is. Let's put this. I'm gonna. Sorry. This Nurse Joy looks completely different from all the other Nurse Joys, and we're gonna find out that this Unova region, the Nurse Joys are different.
Oh yeah, I mean we saw one the episode where Ash caught Pidove, but we didn't really get like, oh, it's a different model for the Nurse Joy.
Yes.
But this is like our first, and then we actually get a little bit into the lore of the Unova region Joys.
Yes.
This one has a blue check on the hat, a cross, blue cross, and
good job, Doug. Good job.
First thing I noticed. And Ash goes, "Oh, we met at goddamn, what was that first town? What does he say? We met in Accumula Town," he says.
Yes.
And she goes, "Oh, you must be talking about my sister." And then that's when she pulls out the photograph, and it's how many? I literally just paused it on the picture. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of them.
So that means we're going to be meeting all 14 Nurse Joys during this season of Pokemon.
And she goes, "Oh, you were talking about my sister." And she points at her sister, and then she goes, "That's my sister, and that's me." She's at the top row, and the one we met in Accumula Town is in the middle row. And Ash said, "Well, that must explain it."
Well, I mean, he's used to Nurse Joys because this is the 14th season. So I mean, he's gone through 14 seasons of Pokemon by knowing the different Nurse Joys.
And Ash is like, "Well, I'm," and then she's like, "Well, did you have a Pokemon battle, or are you preparing for a Pokemon battle?" And then we hear a voice behind everybody say, "Oh, it's already been done. Ash is already victorious." And we look, and Silent is just standing behind him like it's perfectly normal.
Yes, he followed Ash to the Pokemon Center.
Creepy.
And then we get the Who's That Pokemon of this week, and it is Audino.
Yes, and at this point I'm going, shit. They've broken the streak.
Yeah, I could see you, if you're watching this on your phone, just throwing your phone and then realizing, Audino's in this episode.
It's like, wait, that's my phone. I need that.
Let me go get that. So right here, we start this next half of the scene by seeing all of these trainers grooming their Pokemon. One trainer has a Sandile, another one has a Pat Rat, and the Pat Rat's almost as big as she is.
I'm becoming a big Pat Rat guy.
You are? You like Pat Rat?
Big Pat Rat guy over here. Don't know why. Every time I see him, it's that's a cute little fella, isn't he?
They're annoying as hell in the Pokemon game.
Are they?
Oh, dude, they're everywhere. They're like Rattata.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So, all right.
And so Ash and Silent are sitting in a booth, and Silent's basically like, look, our battle was like an eye-opening experience to me because you were doing stuff in that battle that you shouldn't have been able to do. I mean, could you explain to me, like, your thought process or how you're turning, disadvantages into strengths and how you were winning battles when you clearly had the wrong Pokemon out there?
And Ash is kind of blowing it off. Like, I just go out there and just battle.
We know Ash doesn't think. I mean,
yeah.
you made a comment last week that Ash has this weird ability to adapt, because you made the comment during the battle with Panseer and Tepig.
Yes, and I mean, it's because he says I just go out there and I just battle. I mean, I don't put too much thought to this, and freaking Silent is just leaning over the table, getting all up in Ash's face. And it's at this point that Ash is informed that his Pokemon at the Pokemon Center are all healed finally.
And he goes, thank God.
Yeah, he says, thank God. And he jumps off the table and just runs downstairs. And there's Pikachu and the 2 Pokeballs.
And then we pan up at the gurney, and we see this being pushed by Audino. And I'm like, vindication.
Yes, Audino is the Chansey of this region.
And I was like, and then we do get Dexter. We find out that Audino is
the healing Pokemon.
The hearing.
Oh, hearing Pokemon. It says it can sense a Pokemon's overall health condition and health just by that's its special ability. Just by like hearing it. Like, and haven't we had a similar Pokemon? I feel like
maybe in previous regions. Like, I mean, obviously without it at our fingertips. But I feel like there had to have been a hearing specific Pokemon, but who knows? And then so Audino walks away, and here comes Iris, who we haven't seen since the gym, and she's got Axu in her arms, and Axu is glowing bright pink.
Yes, he's sleeping. And my thing is, what we're about to find out in just a second, but doesn't Axu live inside of her hair? How the fuck did it get touched?
Well, fair point, because in a few minutes they put a hat on Pikachu and say, that should be good enough.
Yeah, exactly.
So but this is...
They didn't cross their T's and dot their I's in this episode.
Absolutely not. And they didn't plan on somebody being able to pause it and go back and scrutinize it. Well, this is only 2011, so this is only 10 years ago.
And then we get a trainer walking into the Pokemon Center who sees Axu is glowing bright pink, and she goes, Luna, go and use Dream Eater. And Luna goes over, uses Dream Eater, and basically, look, if you're thinking of an old like movie, basically like sucking the soul out of Axu.
Oh, now wait a minute. Sucking the dream. Let's not get our wires crossed.
But the way that they did the animation, it's like the soul is being sucked out of Axu. I mean, we know it's not, but I'm just trying to paint that image for people that are not watching this episode.
Yeah, and I mean, this is airing in October in Japan, so maybe they're going, oh shit, scary.
October, Halloween,
Dream Eater Pokemon,
For real. So,
but we find out that Axu is having a pleasant dream about evolving not just once, but all the way to its final form. And
yes.
Iris looks at Axu and says, "Is that what you were dreaming about? You were dreaming about evolving?" And he's just happier than a pig in shit. So we know that at least one Pokemon on this daggum show is focused on evolving and getting better.
Yes, and so we have. Let's see. I'm gonna go down all of the Pokemon that it evolves into. So we have Axu, and from Axu we have
Fracture,
and then we have Haxorus.
Yes.
And all of the animations is just Axu just running in some random field, just evolving. It's just it's so cute.
It is. That was an innocent dream. It wasn't being chased by anything. It was like, I'm gonna keep getting better with my best friend Iris, and I'm gonna eventually evolve, and I'm gonna become the best Pokemon I can be. And it was just wholesome and fine and good. And Axu was just happier than a pig in shit. He says, "Yes, that's what I was dreaming about. That's what's gonna happen. Give me an apple."
So at this point, Doug, you want to go over this next scene because we get introduced to who this lady is.
Yes, and I immediately thought of you because this woman is revealed to be Dr. Fennel, not Professor Fennel.
Of course it is, Doug.
I immediately thought of you because I was like, oh, how many times did you say Professor or Dr. Juniper?
Oh, what's her name one more time?
Her name is Dr. Fennel.
Fennel. Okay, I'm never going to get that right.
And she specializes in dream research, which would explain why she is so close with her. Is it Luna or Munna?
Munna.
Okay.
Munna.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
And basically, she's like, I focus on dream energy and, kind of getting to know that side of things. And then we go to a shot of the city, and it's just being overtaken by this pink mist. Yes.
And they think that it's coming from a Pokemon called Musharna, which is the evolved form of Munna.
Yes.
So let's take a step back here for a second. So Team Rocket, before this episode, knew that this stuff was going on. So it seems like this is something normal that has been happening at least for the past few days in this city. To me.
Now, see, I had a different reading of it. I didn't think that this happened until Team Rocket started monkeying around in that kind of abandoned, kind of rundown area.
Well, they didn't even do anything. They were just getting ready to set up camp.
Oh, that's true. But I feel like,
because as soon as the robot came out of the thing, everything started glowing pink while they were out there.
That's a
They hadn't at that moment they hadn't touched anything.
when you're right, you're right. That's a fair point.
So at this point, they're talking about Musharna and how it's basically a dream Pokemon. Has all the same stuff that Munna basically has, just a lot stronger. And they're trying to figure out what's going on here. So they step outside, and there's a bunch of pink flakes like snow falling from the sky. And when it touches a Pokemon's skin, it immediately makes that Pokemon go to sleep.
Right. So then we get an Officer Jenny sighting, which I believe is the first one in Unipa.
Yeah.
And
different looking, too.
Radically different.
Yes.
I mean, Officer Jenny in this region has short aqua green hair and a tan uniform, and I mean,
just everything all different,
completely different. And she basically says everybody needs to return their Pokemon to their Pokeballs immediately so they can avoid, like you said, the pink dust, the pink snowflakes. And then and then Ash is like, well, this is where we have a problem because my Pikachu doesn't do Pokeballs.
And everybody gets stunned, and then it's at that moment that they take the hat off of Ash and put it on Pikachu and say, that'll do.
But where the hell does Iris get off? Because fucking Axu is just hanging out in her hair.
Yeah, but that's true. I mean, did we not just heal her Pokemon with the Munna, with Dream Eater? So I don't know. I mean, maybe Axu peeked out of the hair and a piece of the snowflake got on top of him. And then it immediately made him go to sleep.
Needed to restock his apple stash.
So, and this whole time that they've been outside, you're telling me Pikachu didn't get hit by one of these little specks? But again, it's a kid's show, so.
Yeah. And then Dr. Fennel says that Munna and these little flakes are attracted to each other, and we can kind of see parts of Munna are glowing, but obviously she's not as affected, so obviously she doesn't have to be part of the Pokeball edict. And then Dr. Fennel says this could all be traced back to the Dreamyard.
So, and Nurse Joy is sitting there explaining all of that. They get into the car with Officer Jenny, and they're all in the backseat. Where does Officer Jenny get off bringing these kids to this site? Or is it all because Silent's with them and he's the gym leader of this town?
They're only doing it because the show, they still got 8 minutes they got to fill, or 7 minutes. And they said, well, if we leave you here, the episode's only 13 minutes long, and that's just not long enough. So they're all in a car. It's, Dr. Fennel's up front. Obviously, Officer Jenny's driving, and our trio's in the back. And this is when Silas.
Silent.
Yeah, him. He's talking about the explosion from a couple of years back. And he says, oh, everybody's always talking about it. And Dr. Fennel's like, yeah, that area is kind of in ruins ever since.
And they also talk about that Musharna used to be over there too, but Musharna has not been seen ever since the explosion, that they think she was taken.
And all this energy could be coming from her
as a call for help.
Yes. And we get kind of flashbacks from Fennel's point of view, and then we see that a rogue group has been attempting to get in control of the Dreamyard ever since. I mean, and they're presented like shadowy. I got kind of Team Rocket vibes, but not quite because I didn't see fucking giant R's on their chest.
Yes.
And they basically stole.
They stole Musharna.
And then because of that, Musharna absorbed their greedy energy and was kind of in a sense corrupted by these people that kind of broke in, by lack of a better sense.
And then we go straight from that to the ruins where our trio, well, I'm going to call them the trio now, foreshadowing a little bit, with the doctor and Officer Jenny are sitting, or they're now all standing in the middle of this ruins, and they find Team Rocket, and Team Rocket goes over their brand new spear, or their brand new slogan.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Still don't like it.
And I mean, I know they probably had to switch it up a little bit, because you can't do the same spiel for 14 seasons, because what are you paying these voice actors for? Just copy and paste the slogan and just copy and paste here. And if they get cut off, just cut the speech off at this point. I don't know.
And so basically Jesse's talking about being the White Knight, and James is talking about being the Black Energy, and Meowth is talking about being all wise and knowledgeable.
And that they're the team of Team Rocket, which is kind of weird.
I will say, I think the new R is kind of growing on me a little bit.
Oh, it's been. I love the new R. I just don't like this new spiel that they do, and it feels like they kind of switch it up week by week. It's not the exact same spiel every single week, but I still don't like it.
No, absolutely not. So basically, Officer Jenny's kind of surprised. She's like, "What's a Kanto region group doing over in Unova?" And James is like, "We're going to collect the sleeping energy and help us
build
towards
the
our
best Pokemon."
Yeah, build the best Pokemon army to take over. Kind of like what they said to Giovanni earlier, because Giovanni is like, "What's our main focus?" And they were like, "To build the greatest Pokemon army and take over the world," and all the Pinky and the Brain shit.
So. And at this point, everyone's kind of caught off guard because lightning starts striking this region where all the rubble is, and Meowth is like, "What's this?" And everyone's looking around, and now everybody's glowing pink again.
Hated this
because everybody. I mean, everything is all pink around this area now. You hated this?
Hated this.
Why?
Fucked me up.
Why?
Because you're not expecting to be slapped in the face by a pink hue for the final 4 minutes of the episode, basically.
True. So, let's see. So it's at this point, Team Rocket's trying to think up a plan. Meowth is like, we need to gather up the rest of this pink energy and get out and basically hightail it out of here. How is Meowth still awake?
Absolutely. That was something that hit me immediately. I was like, right. So, is he protected by his charm? Because if he's protected by his charm, that's bullshit.
And, I mean, not even just the charm, but, like, you have all of this. I mean, maybe it's because of where they're at. There's a higher pink dome around them. Maybe that is saving them from going to sleep as well. I have no idea.
Maybe because they're around the place that's like the epicenter, maybe, and this is going to sound weird, but maybe they're not as highly affected as they would be if they were further out. I don't know.
That part wasn't explained.
And then,
but the doctor is screaming out for Musharna, who we find out is her old Pokemon.
Yes. And Musharna basically kind of materializes in front of them. And, she's got pardon me, the doctor's kind of got tears in her eyes. Munna's happy, and
Musharna basically used teleport to come over to this area. But at this point, when the doctor's running over to Musharna spits out some type of attack to stop the doctor from coming over to her.
Well, no, it's the machine that Team Rocket was building earlier.
Oh, gotcha. I was looking at it frame by frame and saw the light come.
It's the pink hue. The pink hue fucks you up.
The pink hue made it seem like it was coming from Musharna, but it wasn't.
So yeah, well, and it's kind of a two-pronged attack kind of thing, because there's one half is shooting out a laser to deter anybody from getting closer, and then another half is shooting out a green beam that grabs Musharna, and Team Rocket's like, Musharna is now a permanent member of Team Rocket.
Yes. And Pikachu is getting ready to go in and use Volt Tackle to kill this machine, but Pikachu then ends up getting zapped in the middle of it, trying to go over and attack this machine.
Yeah, and Dr. Fennel tells Munna to use Psychic, and completely just wrecks the machine. Just doesn't even break a sweat. So what the hell did Ash send Pikachu out for?
And Pikachu then at that point tackles the machine after it's already been crushed, and the pinkness goes away. It's completely gone.
Thankfully. So then, Jessie's frustrated, so she throws out Woobat to use Gust,
and then they're
to kick up a bit of a dust storm, and then, like you said, it's like a magic trick. They're completely gone.
Freaking Team Rocket has learned in these past. We haven't had a Team Rocket that's blasting off this season yet.
No, even the one where their hot air balloon crashed, they fucking used like wind sails or the gliders or whatever the fuck.
Yeah. So they so far this season they have learned from their ways. 6 episodes in, and we have not had a Team Rocket is blasting off again.
Yeah, we don't get that. We get this weird motto every time we see him. It's just Team Rocket needs to go back to the drawing board.
You don't like it?
Not at all.
So the doctor walks over to Musharna. We find out that Musharna is back to being good. It has not been poisoned. Its mind has not been poisoned anymore. And Munna is happy as all get out to see Musharna again.
And the Officer Jenny walks over and says, well, I would say this case is closed. And then we pan up to the sky, and then I'm guessing by the rip, we take one final commercial break. And we're back, and we see Giovanni come on screen and say the Team Rocket has completed their mission, which is ridiculous because did they though?
Well, maybe they got the research that they needed and they sent it over to Giovanni. This is what happened when we were there. No, we didn't get any Pokemon, but this is the data we've collected.
And well, yeah, because he does say, the energy, the information that you gathered has been sent back to base.
Yes.
And then this is where Jessie kind of asks a follow-up question. She's like, what about the sleep energy? And then, don't worry about that. That's above your pay grade. And, be ready if I call again. So kind of like you said, they must be higher up on the pecking order than they were when we left them in season 2.
Yes. And right now I'm a season and a half behind of this, so hopefully I'm about to get some questions answered, and I'll be able to come back on this podcast and tell all of you. But as of right now, as it stands, we go straight from that to a scene outside of the Stryton City gym, and Silent is talking to his 2 brothers, saying that he's about to go out on an adventure to to basically research some Pokemon.
And he basically says what he said to Ash. That battle that he had with Ash opened his eyes, and he's going to go learn about combinations and flavors and pairings and spice and dumb food stuff.
Yes.
He's like, I want to be the best Pokemon connoisseur I can be.
And he asks Ash if he can go and travel with him on his journey. Iris still hasn't established that she is traveling with Ash, but Silent basically says, why don't we all go together and we can all become better trainers by just being around each other. And Iris then agrees, so now Ash has a trio with him again.
And then, because we find out that Silent wants to be the greatest Pokemon connoisseur, and Ash obviously wants to be a Pokemon master. And Ash straight up asked Iris, like, what exactly are you traveling for? And she goes, it's a secret, and she runs away.
And so I have a feeling we're going to get some big thing with her later on this season as well. So.
And as we leave this episode, we find out that we're heading towards Nakreen City and the Nakreen Gym, because that's next on the checklist.
So that is the end of this week's episode. Dougie, my man, what do you give this episode this week?
2.5.
Oh, I'm going to give it another 3 this week.
Got a little tedious.
It did, but there was progression. We now have established that Iris and Silent are both going to be traveling with Ash. We learned about Munna and Musharna this week, and we found out the doctor. We found out more information about the Nurse Joy and Officer Jenny's of this town. So I'm going to give it a solid 3. I stand by this episode should have been before last week's episode, and we should have ended this with the gym battle, which would make sense for Silent to say, okay, this opened my eyes a lot. I want to go travel with you guys.
Very true. And yeah, because he could have been the last battle again, and you oh shit, he really won, and even though he had no business winning, because he beat me with a water type, for God's sake.
Exactly, and you could have ended last week's episode with Ash winning his first battle, but now has 2 extra battles to do. Like I said, I would have flip-flopped these.
Right.
But again, but yeah, that's where I stand. I'm going to give it a 3, and it is 12:40. It's late at night. I have to get upstairs and get ready for bed soon.
It's not late at night. It's early in the morning.
It's early in the morning. It's still nighttime. I'm going to open up this Pokemon pack. So let's go ahead and get this open. All right. Pull these cards out. Oh, shit. Another black card.
Damn.
So this looks like it's going to be another dud pack. Doug, what energy am I looking at? Or not
water.
Looking at? Water? It's a fire this week.
Shit.
So, all right. So we got fire and impact energy. What is this one? This card can only be attached to a single strike Pokemon. If this card is attached to any other Pokemon than a single strike Pokemon, discard this card. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides every energy type, but provides only one energy at a time. This Pokemon card is attached to can't be poisoned. If it's already poisoned, it is recovered from its special condition. Okay. I got a Path to the Peak. I have another Drizzle. I had a Drizzle last week. I got a Diglett, a Golett, a Deerling, a Sneasel, a Garlarian Farfetch'd. My reverse holo this week is a Venipede, and I got a Tarina is the rare of this pack, and it's a non-holo. So yes, another dud pack this week. We can't win them all, Doug. We can't.
Apparently not, but you're kind of on a 2-week down streak, so you're due some stuff.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this upcoming Tuesday, I can pull some decent cards. But yeah, two straight weeks, two dud packs. So we will see what we end up getting next week. So, Doug, do you have anything else to add for this week?
No, I'm very interested to get, and this is funny saying this because this isn't going to mean anything to these people listening to this, but I'm very interested, fuck me, interested to get, it's late, interested to get back to season 2 and see, like, if I'm thrown off or if I fall back into the groove easily. I'll be interested to kind of see what the trade-off is after 6 episodes of Black and White.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I fully, I think you're going to feel like I feel, Doug, when I watch things like in advance and go back and rewatch the original Kanto episodes. It's a difference. Mm-hmm. You sit here and you're like, okay, the animation's different. They do this, the coloring is different, and you'll feel it, but it'll become a new normal to you. So, but all right. Well, if you have nothing else to say, Doug, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Wrestling Chris G telling everybody out there that next week we get a Snivy episode outside of the Tabig and Ashwat. A couple episodes apart. So don't miss next week's episode because it's a doozy, and we will see you on the flip side. Have a good night, everyone.